This program contains violent content which may be too intense for some. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh no, there I am. Hi everybody, how are ya? How's everyone doing tonight? I have got so much stuff on my screen, it's not even funny. Welcome to True Crime with Marv. We follow the good channels. Aw, thanks, Deb. Well, as you all know, I have been trying to keep up on Adam Montgomery. He is not the father of the year. Definitely not. Bad man. That's all I got to say. So, last month he was convicted, and I'm going to bring my little notes here. So, Adam Montgomery, 33, was convicted in June on 6 separate charges, including being a career armed criminal. Now, that charge alone carries a minimum sentence of 10 years in prison. And that was very key to the prosecutor's case. According to the prosecution, he stole a rifle and a shotgun from a friend's home in Manchester and then sold them to a convicted sex offender who was also involved in drug trafficking. Nice man, isn't he? He then bought back the guns from the same person and kept them in his house where he lived with his wife, Kayla Montgomery, and his daughter, Harmony, and their 2 other kids. Now, Harmony was reported missing in November 2021 by her mom, Crystal. She had last seen the girl during a FaceTime call in the spring of 2019. Police say Harmony was last seen in October of 2019. So the story is investigators believe that Adam Montgomery unalived Harmony by repeatedly striking her in the head with his fist while they were living in their car. And this supposedly was done sometime in early December of 2019. They still have not found her body, but they have obtained what they call biological evidence that confirms her death. They also suspect that Adam disposed of her corpse and tried to cover up the crime. Well, we know that for a fact. He did cover up the crime for 2 years. So he pled not guilty to second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, and abuse of a corpse. He's scheduled for trial in the murder case in November. His wife, Kayla, has agreed to cooperate with the prosecutors and testify against him. She did testify in this guns trial against him also. She's pleaded guilty to endangering the welfare of a child and hindering apprehension or prosecution charges. At a sentencing hearing for the gun crimes just the other day, yesterday, on the 7th, he actually spoke for the first time and proclaimed his innocence in the murder case. Asked and begged the judge not to consider anything to do with that case when it came to deciding his punishment. He said he loved his daughter unconditionally and did not kill her. What a crock. That's all I got to say about that. Then he went on to tell the sob story about how he was an addict and that he did commit the gun crimes for drugs or money to buy drugs. So if you watched, I think I was on a members live, I did a little bit of a story about this. And yeah, I did not read the documents to anybody on here, but the story went, they were living in their car at the time, and Montgomery was having accidents, relieving herself, whether it be in the car or having to go frequently, and that just didn't go along with what Adam had planned or wanted. So one day he reached back and he punched her several times in the face with Kayla sitting right next to him. She saw the whole thing. So, and then he turns to Kayla after he gets done punching this girl with a full-fledged fist, full power in the back seat, and says to Kayla, I think I might have hurt her. You think? Dumb idiot. How much drugs had you taken before that you would make that statement? She's in there in the back seat, whimpering, and then just goes dead silent. And nobody checks on her. Nobody. Not Kayla, not Adam, nobody. Finally, he gets out of the car and he goes into the back seat and sees that he's killed his child and puts her in the trunk in a bag. She was 5 years old. 5 years old. And the saddest part about this story is that Harmony was taken away from her mom because her mom had a drug problem. Okay? It wasn't just Harmony, it was Harmony and her little brother. Her little brother went to a loving family, 2 gentlemen who had been married and wanted to adopt kids. And when they found out about Harmony's situation, they wanted her. They wanted her to come live with them and her brother. Well, the court said, we don't know if we can do that right at the beginning. And Adam stepped in and said, absolutely not. I want my daughter. Well, somebody at CPS and the state did not do their research because Adam and Kayla were bigger drug users than Harmony's mother. And if they would have looked into them and did a background check on them, they would have found this out. And Harmony would be alive today, living with that happy family and her brother. But no. Nope. Couldn't give that child a happy life because Adam wanted her. Why? I'll never know. How she smiled in her pictures? I'll never know. All I do know is that when Kayla testified during this gun trial, she said they were constantly high. Adam was constantly making deals with people to sell items for drugs or money. They didn't know who was coming and going in that house. There was people in and out all the time with these 3 kids in there. And this isn't the first time he had hit her. He had admitted that he hit her to a family member, and he admitted that he made Harmony clean the bathroom with her toothbrush. 5 years old. Really, dude? I'm telling you, prison is too good for him. Somebody needs to do to him exactly what he did to Harmony. Okay. Before I move on, let's look at some of the comments because I went on a soapbox there and went off on a tangent. This case makes me so angry along with all of them. Nice background. Thanks. I made it on Canva. Let's see here. Yeah, the worst. My husband asked me, what are you talking about tonight? And I told him. And I said, well, he's not going to win Father of the Year, that's for sure. And, hey, Jinx, how you doing? And we were talking about it, and he goes, that's the saddest part is one of the number one reasons that parents kill their children is because of bathroom issues, potty issues. And the number 2 reason is probably lack of sleep because the child is up at night crying. Thanks. Hit that thumbs up. Laughing out loud, we all decided to come here. Awesome. So she was the most precious little girl. And in all of her pictures, she's smiling. And it's just amazing. It amazes me that she smiles like that because of the life that she was living. Yes, there is that in there. And the reason for that is because after she was transferred to the bag, from the bag to the cooler, back to a bag, he had taken her into the bathroom and mutilated her corpse in order to get it into a smaller bag. So, yeah, it's going to be a miracle for them to ever find her. Yeah, I'm calling BS that he didn't do it. Exactly. Especially when you have his soon-to-be ex-wife who is testifying against him. And if the players in the gun trial have anything to say, she's not the only one that will be testifying against him. I'm pretty sure some of those players from the gun trial are also going to testify in Harmony's trial. Yeah, she may have. Or it could have just been the fact that they were living in a car and he didn't want to take her somewhere to where she could go. I wish you were a judge, Marv. Oh, people would not want me to be a judge. That's all I got to say. Yeah, I know we did a members live regarding this case and that trial. It's like a bad science fiction movie. It's worse than that. Yes, and this is a big key point. That I think this is exactly why he wanted custody of her. It's not so because he loved her and adored her and wanted to bring her up right. He wanted the money that him and Kayla were going to get for having Harmony. More drug money. That's exactly why he wanted custody of her. Settle down, your alarm's going to go off. No, it already went off. In fact, I burnt my tongue at dinner and feels like I'm slurring because it hurts. Yeah, honeybee, I got a lot of fantastic people in here. I agree with you. Yes, did not deserve this at all. They should do that to him. Yeah, I would lay the smackdown on him. So, I am going to play. I think it's important that you guys hear the prosecutor's statements. Oh, and then the defenses. Oh, that woman is a mess. His attorney. Oh my goodness. I was sitting here working, listening to this, and every time that woman comes on, she drives me crazy. And I sit here and I yell at my phone, yelling at her. Doesn't help the situation, but it makes me feel better. So I'm going to bring this up. But the reason I want you to specifically hear the prosecutors is because he lays out Adam's background. Yeah, he lays it out. You'll understand just after hearing this short presentation or statement by the prosecutor. So let me get that up and ready here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thanks for the guide for this.
Okay, I am going to. I have to fast forward here because they kind of.
Your Honor, the state does not.
They do some things in the beginning here, but I want his
I don't have
his
what
main
that state
statement.
confidence, Your Honor. It's rehabilitation and restitution that's needed for this defendant. If the defendant were here and we were in a federal setting, that
All right.
of the armed career criminal charges.
Let me share this.
2008, 742 and 743, and separate from that, concurrent with one another, but of course consecutive to the armed career criminal charges.
Seeking 7.5 to 15 years stand committed for the theft by unauthorized taking.
Their change to financial status if they would have filed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state does not intend to be very long with its statements. Obviously, the sentencing memorandum, we think, fairly simple.
Can you guys hear that?
Reasons for the state's recommendation. As you've seen, the state is recommending essentially 15 to 30 years stand committed on both
of the armed career criminal charges. That's charge number is
2008, 742 and 743. And separate from that, concurrent with one another, but of course consecutive to the armed career criminal charges, we're seeking 7.5 to 15 years stand committed for the theft by unauthorized takings charges there as well. Those docket numbers, for the record, being 1964098C and 99C. Given the fact that the receiving stolen properties and the theft by unauthorized takings in this operate almost as alternative charges, we have already spoken with defense counsel and we are in agreement that the receiving stolen properties should be essentially a guilty finding and held in abeyance. So no separate sentencing forms have been done by either party because of that. The sentence should be on the theft by unauthorized takings.
On that, is it your position that those get vacated after the conclusion of the appeal period?
I believe, Your Honor.
Sentencing sheets.
Yes, Your Honor. Payment for the two guns. We may be able to have an agreement.
All right, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. With that being said, I'm not, again, Your Honor, I'm not going to go through every single thing that's written down there. I think you can see that the state looked at it from a different perspective, not a different perspective, but the same perspective the court uses on every case, the proper balance of punishment, deterrence, rehabilitation, and restitution that's needed for this defendant for the offenses that have gone forward. The defendant has chosen not to submit a sentence memorandum, which is perfectly his right, but from the sentencing sheets, we can see that he is asking for a minimum sentence, the minimum that's allowed under the law on the two armed career criminal charges, and for no additional sentence to be done with theft by unauthorized taking. And that is where we disagree. For a person that has the minimum qualifying offenses and is then convicted of armed career criminal, that 10 to 20 would be the appropriate number, but that's not this defendant. And for the person who has maybe not had deterrence or rehabilitation or probation or parole as part of their previous sentences, so they never had that opportunity to truly seek some sort of rehabilitation, then maybe the 10 to 20 year sentence would be appropriate. But again, that's not this defendant. After trial, the defendant was found guilty of the armed career criminal on two guns and on the theft by unauthorized taking, the receiving stolen property within this window of several days, 2019. What are the two guns? They're the assault rifle and the shotgun. As he termed, and as we heard it from the witness stand here, the big boys, that he referred to them, knowing that he could turn around and sell them to other convicted felons for money or for drugs, which he did. And having that rifle then show up in the hands of what we know now is a federally convicted drug trafficker. That's why part of the reason why armed career criminal, the minimum sentence of 10 to 20, the minimum sentence should not apply for this defendant. That behavior alone should not result in that, especially with the defendant here, who, as you've seen, has been convicted 16 years ago of pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl, of 15 years ago during an armed home invasion, holding the neck to a victim, demanding money, and then pointing that gun at the chest of a police officer who responded, who was able to knock the gun out of his hand and wrestle him to the ground. And as you saw on those two matters, Your Honor, the one from 2008 involving a 15-year-old girl, he then, what did he have? A violation of probation. And for after this armed career criminal, where he held the gun to a woman's neck inside her home in front of her child and then pointed the gun at the officer, what happened afterwards? 2 separate violations of parole and probation and 3 defaults for failing to show up to court. The minimum sentence is not appropriate when you have the defendant who then after this stabs another man with a knife 15 years ago. And then 8 years ago does another armed robbery with a conviction of armed assault to murder for shooting a man in the face. That's just 5 years before the activity that's in front of you here today.
Can I ask you about that, Attorney Agati?
Yes.
And maybe I missed it. I did not see what his sentence was in that case.
From the reading of the sentence, Your Honor, and that I believe is all contained within Exhibit 3. For that particular sentence, I believe on each of the charges that went forward, the armed robbery charge, the armed and assault to murder charge, the firearm carry without a license charge, and the discharging of firearm within 500 feet of the building, that, I apologize, the last one, the discharging is just a guilty file. On the other 3, he received 18 months stand committed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
18 months. He shot somebody in the face and he got 18 months. What the hell is wrong with the system? How in the world did he only get 18 months? Huh.
If the defendant were here and we were in a federal setting, then he would be eligible potentially for a 3rd strike and be looking at life without parole, or life with or without parole. The state is not seeking that here. It's not saying that he should be getting the maximum sentence on the armed career criminals, but certainly is saying that he should not get the minimum sentence. With regards to one other aspect of that, Your Honor, on the thefts, the defendant's proposal that the theft should just be guilty findings. We don't feel that that's appropriate, given that you have 2 guns here. This is not a situation where you have a stolen wallet and the defendant's walking down the street, and when he's arrested for having stolen a wallet, he happens to be having a gun on him. Maybe in that situation, the state could agree, depending on history and depending on behavior, that a minimum sentence was appropriate, and that you could easily see that the wallet charge might be just a guilty finding because there's this armed career criminal charge. The defendant's not walking down the street here with a stolen weapon from somewhere else and having stolen a wallet. It's stealing 2 guns from inside a dwelling place, inside a home where a woman and her child were sleeping. And then what did he do with the guns afterwards? We heard he advertised, he marketed, he negotiated, he bartered, he displayed, he test fired, he sold these 2 guns. And as we heard from one witness, actually bought the gun back later on and sold it anew. Both of those guns now going out into the community. It's not just a simple possession. It's not just a simple theft that's there. It's a theft, and in that theft, it's a theft of 2 more firearms. That which he knows he cannot take, that which he turns around in such short time markets to sell to other convicted felons. It's not the right defendant to be doing a guilty finding on that, not with his pattern of history, not with the offenses that are here. With regards to, I guess, 2 other aspects that I want to just briefly address for you. With regards to victim impact, we have reached out to Christopher Frayne and asked whether he wanted to have any impact and provide his statements to the court. He asserted to us that he did not want to have anything to do with any matter moving forward. He did not want to provide a statement to the court. I don't know what his motivation was, what his concerns or worries are, but he made that very clear to the state that he did not wish to present anything to you. With regards to the standpoint of the Manchester Police Department, as you can see, several members happen to be here today. Obviously, there are other investigations that are going on. We feel, and they feel, that this sentence is appropriate for the charges that are before you today, not for the other 2 guns that we will have hearings on later on, not for Harmony, who's missing, who we will have a trial later on this year, the appropriate sentence for today. Guns in the community.
So he's not even done with the gun charges. This guy just said there's 2 more gun charges, at least, that he's got to face, along with the Harmony situation. Oof.
Has been a problem. It always has been throughout history. Guns in the community has been a problem. And here, the defendant, after all of his convictions, has knowingly continued to be a part of that dealing of firearms in the community. And so again, another reason why the Manchester Police Department does not feel that the minimum sentence is the appropriate sentence here. And they would agree with the position of that what the state has proposed to you. Something else has to be done. For a different defendant, for different offenses, we can understand why a minimum sentence might be right. Don't believe that's what the legislature intended. For other people, like the Wallace scenario I gave you a moment ago, then certainly might fit what the legislature was looking at, to say that we have to have this minimum time period with no suspension, no deferrals, has to be served. This defendant is not the minimum defendant. Those are basically the reasons for the state's proposal. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So I have to say, I thought that guy, that prosecuting attorney, did a great job breaking it down for the judge. Why Adam Montgomery does not deserve just the minimum sentence. And with everything that he's done throughout the years, I mean, it's plain as day. And then the perfect way to end it is to throw in the threat to the community. This man was selling these guns to the community, to people that, you know, were not law-abiding citizens in the community. I mean, he laid it on. I thought he did a great job. Thanks for joining, Heather. So, I'm not going to put you through the defense's BS, because she just said, poor Adam, he is an addict and he should get the minimum sentence. Plain and simple. Talked and rambled 15 minutes about that. But what I do want to show you is the judge and what she says at sentencing. Honeybee says, I watched some of the pressers from Manchester, and the chief of police impressed me with his drive to get justice. Yes, exactly. He said, we will not stop until we get justice. And you're right, Wanda. Minimum reprimands is exactly why he continues to do what he does and why he is a repeat offender. Yes, you got that right. Let me just get that next video queued up here.
So the concern.
Okay, so this is 12 minutes. I'm going to play this whole thing because I want you to hear what the judge says to him. And then, of course, Adam's going to speak.
That any sentence imposed today would be taking that into consideration. And I want to tell you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Benjamin Nagati for the.
I got to go back to this video because that's where Adam speaks. We'll listen to Adam. Okay. I am going to. There we go. All right, here we go.
Without a doubt of great concern here. I believe Adam would like to address you.
So I understand that I was found guilty by a jury, and I'm not here to dispute that at all. The only consideration that I ask of you this morning is for you not to consider anything as it relates to the case regarding my daughter Harmony. I did not kill my daughter Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims. Probably won't believe me when I tell you that I didn't wake up one morning and choose to become an addict. I don't want to be an addict. And I will spend my time in prison utilizing it to the best of my ability to change things about myself. I could have had a meaningful life, and I blew that opportunity through drugs. But I loved my daughter unconditionally, and I did not kill her. So please don't consider anything that relates to those charges. Only consider the facts to this case.
Now, did you notice that he kept looking off to the one side? He was shooting those glances at Harmony's mother while he was saying that. Yeah, I agree. I could have led a productive life. Yeah, you could have. Oh, boo-hoo for him. Exactly. Liar. Yeah. Exactly. You could have. Why didn't you? You know? Drugs cannot be the fallback for everything. I'm sorry. You have a choice. That man just don't take anything in my daughter's case and make your decision based off of that. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Here's the judge.
the concern that any sentence imposed today would be taking that into consideration. And I want to tell you that the court is not. You will have your trial on that. You're being sentenced today on these armed career criminal and theft charges that you've already been found guilty of. But the court notes that there are a significant number of aggravating factors here, making the minimum mandatory sentences that you're requesting inappropriate. First and perhaps foremost, each of the prior felony offenses outlined by the state in their sentencing memorandum involved significantly violent behavior and violent conduct that involved weapons. Your prior conduct over the 15 years may be some of the most violent and egregious that I have seen. It involves a knife to the throat of a 15-year-old, a gun pointed at a woman with a child in the home during a home invasion, a gun pointed at a police officer, and an armed robbery where the victim was shot in the face. You yourself were shot during that incident. Not all predicate offenses for armed robberies are for armed career criminal cases are the same. And these predicate offenses are particularly egregious. This case itself, the stolen firearms in this case also had significant aggravating factors. These guns were stolen. There was a child in the house. The guns were maintained while you yourself had children in the home. There was trading, selling, buying back of guns. The guns were sold to and bought back from a convicted sex offender, and ultimately one of the guns was discovered in the hands of an individual who is apparently trafficking in both guns and drugs. The brazen nature of your conduct, the bragging, I mean, I listened to these witnesses. You bragged about the guns. You talked about them being hidden in the walls of your home. You talked about concerns about being discovered by the ATF. I mean, this is not a felony where there were 3 predicate offenses involving controlled drug acts. The gun violence has taken a toll on our community, particularly on the young people here. And the trafficking of guns in the community, the violence that we see as a result of those guns being in the wrong hands cannot be minimized. And for these reasons, as I said, I don't believe that the minimum mandatory sentences are appropriate here. Therefore, the court is going to sentence you to to 15 to 30 years on each of the armed career criminal charges consecutive to each other. On the theft cases, what I'm going to do on those is you'll get a 7.5 to 15 year stand committed sentence. 5 years of each of those sentences will be suspended, conditioned on your good behavior and compliance with the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. And I will tell you that I am doing that because, given your history, I want something to incentivize you to be of good conduct while you are at the prison. And if you are not of good conduct or you commit other crimes while you are incarcerated, the state can move to impose that suspended portion of your sentences. So each of the theft charge, they'll be concurrent with each other, but they will be consecutive to the armed career criminal charges. We will have a restitution hearing. I'll allow the state 90 days to file a pleading with regard to restitution. If no pleading is filed, no restitution will be ordered. So I'm going to read you the sentences now. Please listen carefully. On charge ID 2008743C, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 30 years nor less than 15 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of your minimum sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. This sentence is to be served as follows: stand committed, commencing today. The court recommends the Department of Corrections that you be screened and or assessed for drug and alcohol treatment needs. The state will be granted 90 days to submit a pleading regarding their request for restitution. If they do so, a restitution hearing will be scheduled upon further filing or objection by your counsel. Additionally, you're to meaningfully participate in and complete any counseling, treatment, or educational programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole. You are ordered to have no contact with Christopher or Kimberly Frayne. That no contact is either directly or indirectly, including but not limited to contact in person, by mail, phone, email, text message, social networking sites, or through third persons. No contact at all, Mr. Montgomery. That would be cause to impose the suspended portion of your sentence. Law enforcement will be directed that they could destroy or return evidence to its rightful owner in the case. You are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of your sentence. Additionally, on charge ID 2008742C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 30 years nor 15 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of your minimum sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. That sentence is to be served stand committed, consecutive to charge ID 2008743C. The court recommends to the Department of Corrections that you be screened or assessed for drug and alcohol treatment needs. Additionally, you are required to meaningfully participate in and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole. You have the same no contact order on this charge as well. Law enforcement may destroy or return evidence to its rightful owner in this case, and you are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. On charge ID 1964099C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 15 years nor less than 7.5 years. You have the 150-day disciplinary period to be prorated for any part of the year. Stand committed. 5 years of the minimum and none of the maximum is suspended. The suspensions are conditioned upon your good behavior and compliance with all the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. The suspended sentence will begin today and end 15 years after your release from this charge. So this charge is consecutive to the armed career criminal charges, but concurrent with the other theft charge. All of the other conditions that I reviewed with you earlier with regard to the destruction or return of evidence, the requirement of good behavior, and that you be screened for drug and alcohol treatment needs are also included on this sentence. On charge ID 1964098C, you are sentenced to the identical sentence that I just reviewed with you, which is, and these two sentences are concurrent. It's the not more than 15 years or less than 7.5 years at the New Hampshire State Prison with the 150-day disciplinary period, and includes the 5 years of the minimum sentence, and none of the maximum sentence are suspended. The suspensions are conditioned on your good behavior and compliance with all the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. That suspended sentence will begin today and end from 15 years from your release on charge ID 1964098C. All of the other terms and conditions that I reviewed with you on the other theft charge are also imposed on this charge. Do you have any questions about that? All right. Yes.
I thought I heard it, but I'm not positive. Pre-trial credit on the first trial.
Pretrial confinement credit of 580 days on the first charge. In light of your current financial condition and that you have a lengthy prison sentence that you'll be serving, the court will find that you do not have an ability to pay your attorney's fees. You won't have counsel fees. In this case, if you have prior counsel fees, those still stand. I'm going to ask you now to just be seated. I need to find a clerk so that you can be read your rights to sentence review.
Okay. So basically, I hope you caught the keywords in there. It's 15 to 30 years for each count. So that's how you get 30 to 60 years. Okay. 5 of those years are suspended. But he has to behave himself even after he gets out of jail. So let's say he ends up serving 15, 20 years, right? If he serves 20 years and he finally gets out, for the next 10 years, he cannot get in trouble, or the state can bring him back in and make him serve the rest of the time. That's huge. He has to be a good boy. And you know, with his history, that's not going to happen. So this is just for the gun charges. Like the prosecutor said, he's got more gun charges coming. But the big trial is going to happen in November. The beginning of November is the pre-trial. The end of November is when the actual trial starts for the murder of Harmony. So see you later, honey bee. Thanks for joining. So that is Lollipop. That's why I said I'll answer your question in a minute. No, he was not sentenced for unaliving Harmony. That trial is coming in November, and I believe it is going to be televised also. So between the gun charges, the future gun charges, and Harmony's trial, if he's convicted of all, he more than likely will be getting life in prison and will never get out. And that is my hope. And we all know what happens to individuals like this who are convicted of unaliving a child in prison. See you. Yeah, Mother Zevdragon, he should never get out of jail. And I truly believe that, the jury found him guilty of these charges in no time. I'm sure the state has tons of evidence in the Harmony case, and I don't see a jury acquitting him at all. Especially since they have biological evidence showing she is no longer alive. No, he was not allowed to have a gun because he had previous charges. So one of the charges he had is that he held a knife to a 15-year-old's throat. The other charge that he had is he held a gun to a woman and her child in their home. Another charge that he had was he shot a man in the face. So he, with those charges and his past convictions, he should not have been anywhere near a gun. So I'm telling you, I can't wait for November. I'm going to do a little test session here, probably the end of this month, and see if I can work and stream something at the same time with my internet. If I can, I will televise Harmony's trial. If I can't, I'm going to have to play it at night for you guys. But like I said, you know, we have been keeping up on this case, and we're going to see it through to the end, because I don't ever want this man to see the day of light. It's bad enough that Kayla will eventually get out of jail within her lifetime and be free for sitting there and watching this all happen to Harmony and not doing anything about it. All because she's testifying against him in these trials. Makes me angry. I know they have to do it. I understand it, but it still makes me angry. She better serve her fair share of the time. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much, Mothers of Dragon, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. So, the judge did not show him any leniency. You heard it. She pretty much told him right off the bat that minimum time was not his thing, and laid it all out on the line to him. And, you know, told him that her decision had nothing to do with Harmony's case and had everything to do with this case. And, yeah. You know, and somebody mentioned the police chief of Manchester. You know, I do have to give him kudos. He said the homicide of Harmony rests with the person or persons who committed this horrific act. And they will do everything within the limits of the law to ensure that they're brought to justice. And he kept his promise. Even the Attorney General of New Hampshire said that this is devastating news, you know, for Harmony's family, her friends, loved ones, the communities. Their hearts go out to them. And now their work turns to getting justice for Harmony. So what do you think about this case, you guys? Do you think Adam's going to be found guilty of unaliving Harmony? Do you think the sentence that he got in the gun case was too harsh, not enough? You know, does anybody think there's a chance that one day Harmony will be found? For those of you watching the replay, put your comments below the video. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. They knew that he kept moving her body because of Carla's testimony. She advised that Harmony was put into a bag in the trunk. She was then moved to a cooler by Carla's mother's house. She was then put it back into a bag and put in the walk-in freezer at the place of his employment for about a week. And then when they were moving to a new location, that bag that had Harmony's body in it was put in the stroller in between her siblings as they moved into their new apartment. This is all evidence that the prosecution has based off of Carla's testimony and biological evidence that they found in different locations. Hi, Roxy. How you doing? Yes, Mother of Dragons. That poor girl. And for her father to be the one to do that, an Under Armour bag. Then he pushed her around in a stroller. Yep. Yeah, his wife testified against him in the gun case, and now she will be testifying against him in the murder case also. She has to in order to keep her plea bargain. Yeah, they did. And unfortunately, I think that may have been where she ended up, was in a dump. Yeah, Kayla is just as guilty as he is. The only reason she's getting off with a lighter sentence is because she's testifying against him. Nobody knows where Harmony is. They know that he took her body, which is in the bag, and drove around for anywhere from like a half an hour to an hour, and then came back and he didn't have the bag anymore. But they cannot find her. And they've searched. They've done multiple searches all over the area for her. Somebody had made the statement they actually think that he buried that little girl somewhere close to where her mother lives. And the reason they thought that is because he kept telling everybody he took Harmony back to her mom. I mean, it would make sense. But at this point, she could be anywhere. She could be in a dump or anywhere. Yeah, he knows what he did with her. But I wanted to come on tonight and give you this update since this happened yesterday. And I didn't get a chance to jump online and share this yesterday. I wanted to make sure that that happened today. Yeah, it would be nice so that she could be buried properly. Excuse me. Went down the wrong pipe. Now I'm choking. Ugh. If you haven't joined the True Crime with Marv Facebook group, join. We've had over 50 new members in the last week. My merch is pinned at the top of the page there. I am working on the video to get it out on YouTube. So that'll be happening here by the end of this week. I don't think so, but I have to double check. Lollipop. I will double check for you. Actually, let me look it up now. Let's see here. Yeah, they do have the death penalty. They absolutely do. So he could get death. Wow. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. With that, everybody, I am going to sign off tonight for the night. I will be back on Thursday with another story for you. It's not going to be any prettier than this one, I can tell you that. It's about another child. So, and then, after that, I will be back on track and doing more Tabitha lives also. So stay tuned. Watch the community page, the Facebook group. We post everything there. So that might be what saves him, if he finally admits it and tells where she is. Let's hope. So yeah, and if he's saved by that, Gen Pop will get him after that. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great night. I'll see you on Thursday, and then after that, I'm not sure what the schedule will be. If it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but then we have more Tabitha lives coming for you. Have a great night. I'll see you soon. Bye.